the 1960s continued to signal drastic changes in America. As the decade was changing, a chubby kid from Brownsville, New York, named Michael Tyson, was navigating his way to the baddest man on the planet. Raised in a crime-ridden community, young Mike experienced the harsh realities of poverty, violence, and criminal activities from an early age. By the time he was 13, Mike had been arrested almost 40 times for petty crimes and defending himself against people who made fun of his chubby frame and lisp. Tyson's trouble would lead to his grace. His troubles landed him in the Tryon School for Boys in Johnstown, New York. During this, his boxing skills were discovered by Bobby Stewart, a juvenile detention center counselor and former professional boxer. Stewart took Mike under his wing, training him for months before introducing him to legendary trainer KNOW D'Amato. Mike's march to the title would be a recurring theme: tragedy to triumph. At just 16 years old, Mike Tyson's mother died, and KNOW D'Amato became his legal guardian. If it wasn't for his life of crime, Mike would have never ended up in the hands of legendary trainer KNOW D'Amato. KNOW was known for his holistic approach to training. He emphasized mental toughness, confidence, and strategic thinking. He would hypnotize Mike, literally. KNOW used hypnosis to get Tyson to believe in himself, to believe he was indeed an indestructible machine. KNOW D'Amato had trained legendary boxer Floyd Patterson, guiding him to become the youngest world heavyweight champion at the age of 21 in 1956. KNOW made young Mike Tyson believe he could break that record.
Michael Tyson, a wild, angry teenager from a nearby reform school.
Keep the head down when you come up with the H. Keep your head down. Yeah, I mean, it's not coming up, but starting to come up. You can make it perfect. It's good, but it's not perfect.
Tyson dominated the Junior Olympics in 1981 and 1982, and scored another gold medal in 1984 at the National Golden Gloves. Tyson and D'Amato had seen enough, and in 1985, at the age of 18, Mike Tyson turned pro. In the chilly town of Albany, New York, on March 6, 1985, an 18-year-old Mike Tyson stepped into the professional boxing ring for the first time. The air was thick with anticipation as Tyson faced Hector Mercedes. Within the first round, Tyson unleashed a torrent of punches, overwhelming Mercedes and securing the victory via TKO. It was a stunning debut, and the boxing world took notice. Tyson's rise was nothing short of meteoric. Within his first year, he fought an astonishing 15 bouts, maintaining a relentless pace. His power and speed were unmatched, resulting in 26 victories out of his first 28 fights by knockout. 16 of these came in the very first round. His streak of victories caught the media's eye, and soon he was being heralded as the next great heavyweight champion. But that recurring theme, tragedy to triumph. Tragically, in November 1985, KNOW D'Amato died from pneumonia just as Tyson's career was beginning to soar. Mike Tyson marched on. He marched through journeymen, contenders, and former champions alike, taking them all out in ferocious style. Fans knew they couldn't afford to get popcorn during any of his fights, because the fights might be over before the kernels finished popping. After marching through every competitor, on November 22, 1986, Tyson was given a title shot against heavyweight champion Trevor Berbick. And in a display of unmatched tenacity, speed, and violence, the fight ended with a second-round knockout of the champion. And with that, Mike Tyson, at just 20 years old, became the youngest heavyweight champion ever. And Kid Dynamite became the baddest man on the planet. By 1987, Mike Tyson sat on the throne as the king of the ring. He not only defended his crown as WBC heavyweight champion, but he went ahead and captured the WBA and IBF titles too. Mike Tyson's defense was impenetrable, and his punches were bombs. It was a miracle if his opponent made it out of the first round. During his early reign, another undefeated champion awaited Tyson, light heavyweight champion Michael Spinks. The fight was billed as Tyson's biggest challenge to date, as Spinks was 31-0 with 21 knockouts. The fight was billed as once and for all. Tyson scored a knockout victory in 91 seconds. Michael Spinks retired after the match. Mike Tyson's intense demeanor and attitude in the ring fueled his lifestyle outside of it. Tyson was a young champion who was just mired in crime and poverty several years prior. He had lost his mother and his mentor before he broke through as a champion. Now, he found himself surrounded by more money than he could have imagined, and more people who wanted a piece of it. Money seemed to be nothing but a means to an end for Tyson. He spent it without conscious thought. Stories of his car getting a flat tire, and instead of fixing it, just leaving it for whoever found it. Lavish spending sprees for himself and his entourage. He would later admit he was looking for love in all the wrong places. But he seemed to find it with his marriage to actress Robin Givens. The young couple met in 1987 and quickly married early the next year. At first, their marriage seemed like a high-profile fairy tale, blending the worlds of sports and entertainment. Tyson's ferocious persona in the ring was contrasted by his seemingly tender relationship with Givens. However, behind the glamorous facade, the marriage was trouble from the start. Their relationship was marked by frequent arguments, allegations of abuse, and escalating tension. Tyson's volatile temper and Givens' ambitious career pursuits created a toxic environment.
That he's hit you? That he's chased you and your mother around in Russia? That Mike has a very volatile temper? True?
Extremely volatile temper. I think people see that about every 3 months. He's got a side to him that's scary.
In a highly publicized interview with Barbara Walters on the ABC program 2020 in September 1988, Givens described her marriage to Tyson as torture, pure hell, worse than anything I could possibly imagine. She accused Tyson of domestic violence, stating that she lived in constant fear of his unpredictable outbursts. In October 1988, just 8 months after their wedding, the fairy tale couple divorced. Public opinion was split on who was to blame and who was the real victim. The terms of their settlement were never disclosed, but many believe Robin Givens and her mother took advantage of and manipulated Tyson. Tales of manipulation continue with his relationship with infamous promoter Don King. The flamboyant and controversial boxing promoter, Don King and Mike Tyson's relationship started in the mid-'80s. As the young champion's profile rose, so did King's. King, known for his ability to generate publicity and negotiate lucrative deals, helped arrange high-profile fights and secured substantial earnings for Tyson. As Tyson's manager, many believe Don King was making moves that proved the most financially beneficial instead of what was in Mike's best interest. Many believe Tyson fought too frequently, taking fights that he didn't need to. Later in his life, Tyson called Don King a ruthless, devious, and amoral character. Unfortunately, the critics were proven right on February 11, 1990. On February 11, 1990, Mike Tyson faced James "Buster" Douglas in Tokyo, in what was supposed to be a warm-up fight before a mega fight between a cruiserweight named Evander Holyfield. In one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, Buster Douglas delivered Mike Tyson not only his first loss, but it was also the first time he was knocked down. It would prove to be the first of many knockdowns the champ would experience for the next 20 years. The most troubling happened when Mike Tyson was charged and convicted of a heinous sexual crime. And on February 10, 1992, only 6 years after becoming the heavyweight champion, Mike Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison. He would go on to only serve 3 years, in the prime of his career. After serving 3 years for a very serious crime, Mike Tyson was released. During that, the narrative of the former champion being falsely accused, manipulated, and mismanaged garnered sympathy from fans. However, critics pointed to his conviction as an indictment on his image of being abusive and a menace to society. While imprisoned, his lure grew. Many considered his loss to Buster Douglas as a fluke. His bad boy image matched perfectly with the growing impact of hip-hop and rap, which gained him friends like rappers Tupac and Biggie. All in all, Iron Mike had his eyes on getting back his championship belts.
I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their cloth. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Are you saying now, Mike, that Mike?
After 4 years since his last fight, on August 19, 1995, Mike Tyson began his conquest with the dismantling of Peter McNeely. It only took 90 seconds. By March of the following year, after 3 fights that totaled just 7 rounds of boxing, the baddest man reclaimed the WBC and WBA titles. What was clear, the baddest man on the planet was back. But what still persisted was the demons within and the poachers around him. Even though he had been highly critical of Don King, the promoter still had a hand in Mike's affairs, even though he marched through his competitors with ease. After losing Cruz D'Amato, Mike had trouble finding the right trainer to get him through the journey as a champion. He landed on Kevin Rooney, who helped guide him to 35-0, but their relationship ended, which many believe led to his loss against Buster Douglas. Many believe not having a steady, firm, guiding hand, someone who could hold him accountable, allowed his ego to go unchecked, which led to him not training and preparing as thoroughly as was needed to reign as champion. This all culminated in his most infamous fight, simply known as the Bite Fight. Enjoying this exclusive? Share with 5 boxing fans. November 9th, 1996, Mike Tyson took on Evander Holyfield for the first time. A fight that was several years in the making. The two had originally planned to square off in 1992, but was shelved after Tyson was convicted and sentenced to prison. The fight was highly anticipated and would be the biggest payday for Tyson at $30 million. However, the champion was outboxed and knocked down for only the second time in his career. He would go on to lose to Holyfield by an 11th round TKO. Tyson would get a second chance several months later on June 28, 1997. This time, the outcome would be much worse and more infamous. The fight began with Holyfield dominating Mike Tyson, punishing the former champion and avoiding any of Tyson's ferocious punches. After a few rounds of frustration, Tyson did the unthinkable. He took a bite out of Holyfield's ear. Not once, but twice. In what was one of the most bizarre moments in sports history, Mike Tyson not only bit his opponent's ear, but he bit it off and spat it out. Tyson was disqualified. This fight would signal a spiral to Tyson's career that was highlighted by a lack of discipline, outrageous public outbursts, drug abuse, crime, and failure to ever regain his championship form.
And Muhammad came and he visited us, and this was at the time the movie The Greatest was out. So all the kids sat down and we watched the movie The Greatest, and then Ali came in. This is a funny story. Once I saw him and I saw his impact and what kind of aura he came once he entered the room, by no means, from watching him fight, I knew I could never copy or emulate his style because he was so far advanced as far as technology and everything. You know, he was the future as far as boxing was concerned. I said, I'm going to be like him, and I meant as far as being famous, having money, and just be me, the way I am now. You know what I mean? I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be just like this guy.
Ali was a champion, an inspiration to many, including a young troubled kid at a detention center. Ali's impact on Mike Tyson was so great that when he got a chance to fight Larry Holmes and Trevor Berbick, he wanted to destroy them because he saw them as the two fighters who ended his idol's career. But like his idol, Tyson too ended his boxing career on the canvas. After losing to Evander Holyfield for a second time, he would go on to lose 5 of his last 10 fights, including 2 losses by knockout and 2 no contests. One of those no contests was an overturned victory because Mike Tyson tested positive for marijuana. Unlike his idol, Mike Tyson was never looked to as a leader outside the ring. His volatile nature, public outbursts, and run-in with the law mostly placed him in the role as dangerous. A man many thought would end up dead or in prison. But after so much tragedy, Tyson began to triumph. After years away from the ring, Mike Tyson began to rebrand. It began with appearances in movies, like his hilarious cameo in the hit film The Hangover. He followed that up with his one-man show, Undisputed, which became a Broadway hit. As he got further away from the ring, in his older age, the former bad boy of boxing began to be looked upon as lovable and became a mentor, freely using his career as a cautionary tale to young boxers. His continuous growth and maturity is reflected in his current role in boxing and pop culture.